So this video covers lines 685 all the way to 705 of Book 4 of the Aeneid. Sorry about the raspy voice. So let's go ahead and start. As usual, go ahead and pause it and try and mark up as much as you can from these 20 lines. Okay, so starting with this first sentence, Anna has just finished giving her speech to her dying sister Dido. And looking in this very first sentence, I see a main verb with ewaserat. Altos seems to modify gradus. That's a fourth declension noun. And that's going to be a direct object, accusative plural. My guess is that Anna is the subject of ewaserat, and therefore fata as a participle from the verb for fari fatus sum, meaning to speak or say. That's describing Anna. In the rest of the sentence, I see some more verbs at fowebat and also at sikabat. I see germanam here, some sort of accusative word, probably being modified by semi-animem. So I'll go ahead and mark that as a direct object. Amplexa looks to be nominative feminine singular, most likely describing the subject, just as fata is. And so the subject, as we already mentioned, would be Anna. We have a prepositional phrase right here with cum gemetu. Atros goes with cruores, direct object. And I think we can go ahead and start. So having spoken thus, or in this way, she, meaning Anna, had passed over the tall steps, meaning like I think the steps of the funeral pyre, and having embraced her half-dead sister in her lap, she was cherishing. This verb could actually mean to fondle, and I think it's in the sense of like she was caressing. She was caressing her, meaning Dido, with a groan, and she was drying the dark gore with her clothing. So an image there, pretty powerful, of Anna trying to soak up the blood of Dido using her clothes. Moving on, that's an E, by the way, graves. In the next sentence here, I see that atolere is an infinitive. Deficit would be a main verb. Stride would be a main verb. Subpectore is a prep phrase. I don't see any other prep phrases there, but graves is modifying oculos, and those appear to be accusative. Illa, that one. I'm assuming that one is going to refer to Dido, and she's going to be our subject here. Konata is modifying that one, meaning Dido. And in terms of who the subject of Stride is, we don't know yet. We have this noun wolnus, it's a neuter noun, so it could be nominative or it could be accusative. We'll have to let the context tell us. But since we do know that it is a neuter noun, infixum is going to be describing it. So putting it all together, that one, meaning Dido, having tried again to lift her heavy eyes, and then our main verb, that means fails. So she, having tried to lift her heavy eyes again, fails. And now, in this next sentence, if we know that the verb streedet means to hiss or gurgle, we could say, does Dido hiss or gurgle something? Well, that doesn't really make sense. But would the wound be hissing under her chest? Probably so. So let's say that wolnus is the subject. Excuse me. So we have her pierced wound, meaning where she stabbed herself, hisses under her chest. So you get this idea of like it's hissing, it's making a sound, which is kind of disgusting. So now our next sentence, looking through it, I see that we have a verb here with lewawit, and then a verb with revoluta est, broken up just slightly. That's another main verb. And then quaesiwit. And finally, engemuit. Other things that we can mark in here. Atolens, nominative singular participle there, ns, and onixa, also a nominative singular participle. Those are going to be both describing the subject, and since it's feminine, I'm assuming that the subject is going to be illa again, meaning Dido. And errantibus is modifying oculis. Those are ablative plural. And I think that that's probably all that we can mark at this point. I'm sorry. Alto is modifying Kylo. So putting this all together, this sentence is a little awkward. Just go with it, okay? So the subject is Dido. So she, lifting herself 3 times and having leaned, that's what onixa means, comes from adnitor, sorry. Having leaned on her elbow, she lifted herself. So it's a little bit repetitive. So she lifting herself 3 times and having leaned on her elbow, she lifted herself. And then 3 times she literally was rolled over on the couch. So she tried 3 times to lift herself up on her elbow, and 3 times she just sort of fell back. And she sought, with her wandering eyes, she sought the light. Forgot to mark that as a direct object. She sought the light with her wandering eyes. The light where? In the deep sky, or the tall sky, I guess I should say. So she's trying to look at the sunlight, basically. And reperta is ablative, and I think it's modifying an understood luce, L-U-C-E. Sorry, magic pen won't work. And this is an ablative absolute. And with the light having been found, she groaned. Moving on. And now we get Juno, who's going to, quite frankly, put Dido out of her misery. In this sentence, I see that Juno is the subject. Omnipotens is describing her, as is the participle miserata. Longum is modifying dolorem, so we have a synchesis here. Obitus is a 4th declension noun, and it is accusative plural here. Difficules is modifying it. So some sort of accusative word here, and I guess I should mark dolorem as a direct object, as is obitus. Our main verb would be demisit. And Irem here, this is the goddess Iris, and that's her name in the accusative case, so she's some sort of direct object. We have a clause here with quae, and it ends at artus. Inside the clause, I see one verb, and that's the imperfect subjunctive resolveret. So that's the main verb of the clause. Nexos is modifying this 4th declension noun artus, direct object here, accusative plural. And then animam, also a direct object, and that's modified by the participle luctantem. So, how do we put this all together? Then, all-powerful Juno, having pitied, that comes from a deponent verb, so having pitied the long pain or grief, meaning Dido's grief, and having pitied literally the difficult deaths, plural, I think that's just a poetic plural, she sent down Iris from Olympus. And now we have quae plus a subjunctive. When quae is used with a subjunctive, more often than not, it's a purpose clause that just starts with a relative pronoun, and the official grammatical title for that is simply relative purpose clause. So she sent down Iris from Olympus, just pretend like it's ut, in order to loosen, literally, or to free her wrestling soul and her joints having been fastened or woven, which is sort of a little bit strange. Her bound joints, and we'll talk more about that in class and what that actually means. Now, looking at the next sentence, so that's what Iris is doing, by the way. Iris is sort of, we think of her as the rainbow goddess, and that detail will be mentioned soon. But she also acted as a messenger goddess and sometimes would help sort of escort souls to the underworld, as we're about to see. And in this sentence, from Nam all the way down to Orko, in looking at it, I see that kuya, well, we know that means because, so that's going to be some sort of a clause here. And it ends at peribat, the main verb of the clause. Merita, if you scan the line, you know that that is ablative, and morte is feminine, so we have merita morte. Fato is ablative as well. Well, if we know that perio means to die, so the subject is going to be dido here. And then we keep going. Misera looks nominative singular. That's going to be describing dido. Ante diem is a prepositional phrase. Akensa, also nominative singular, describing dido. Subito, you're normally used to seeing as an adverb. Here it's actually being used as an adjective, subitus, subita, subitum, and it's modifying furore. And then we have this little bit here, non dum, meaning not yet. And in this second part of the sentence, it looks like Proserpina, aka Persephone, queen of the underworld, is going to be the subject. The main verb would be abstulerat. One direct object here would be crinem, meaning hair. Flavum is describing crinem. In the second part here, damnaverat is the main verb. And Proserpina is still the subject, so caput's going to be the direct object. And stichio and orco seem to go together. So piecing this all together, nam, indeed, because she, meaning Dido, she was dying neither by fate nor by a deserved death or merited death, because what is she doing? She's committing suicide, which is sort of, that's against the natural order of things, so that's hence why Virgil is saying not by fate, because no one is fated in the ancient world to die by suicide. So because she was dying neither by fate nor by deserved death, but wretched, I think you kind of have to add in peribat again, but she was dying wretched before her day, meaning like before her actual fated day to die, and inflamed by sudden madness. So because of all that, not yet, this is a dative of reference, not yet for that one, meaning for Dido, had Proserpina taken some yellow hair from the top, meaning the top of Dido's head, and not yet had Proserpina condemned her head to Stygian Orcus. Orcus is another name for Pluto, aka Hades, god of the underworld. So Proserpina was supposed to cut a lock of hair from the head of a dead person, and it's sort of like as an offering to the gods. And so not yet had Proserpina done that, and so therefore Iris is going to be sent down to handle that, to cut some hair from Dido's head. So therefore, ergo, and now going all the way to Astitit, we'll take a look. I see, let's see, verbs. We have de volat and Astitit. And Iris will be our subject, I see that trahens is a participle modifying her. Roskina is an adjective modifying her. Krokeis is modifying penis. So we have another synchesis there. And those words seem to be ablative plural. Perkailum, prep phrase. Warios is describing colores. Now adverso sole, those words seem to go together. Perhaps an ablative absolute. And then in the second part of the sentence, supra caput is a prepositional phrase. So putting that all together, therefore, iris, and she's described, as dewy. Iris, dewy with yellow feathers, or yellow wings. Iris, dewy with yellow feathers or wings. What is she doing? She's dewolating. She's flying down through the sky, dragging 1,000 different colors with the sun facing her. So this is simply a description of the rainbow. And she stood by above the head, meaning above Dido's head. And she says something very short and to the point. In her statement, we have pharaoh as our main verb. O means I, of course. And then you have solvo. So the subject will be iris, ego. Hunc and sacrum are both accusative words. They're both acting as adjectives here, so we're going to have to figure out what the direct object really is. Isto is going to go, I believe, with corpore here. And, excuse me, Yusa comes from eubeo, eubere, and it is feminine nominative singular here, so it's describing ego, meaning iris. So here's what she says. I, having been ordered, meaning by Juno, I, having been ordered, I carry this sacred, and I think the implied noun is crinem, meaning hair. I carry this sacred hair to Dis, D-I-S. That's another name for Pluto, and I think you could just say Pluto is fine. I carry this sacred hair to Pluto, and I loosen or free you from that body of yours. This is an ablative of separation, by the way. So here it is. It's official. She's cutting the hair, or she's about to, and she says that she is freeing Dido from her body. And so the last two lines of Book 4, of course, we have the actual death of Dido. So looking at it, I see that sekat is a main verb, and I also see that rekeset is a main verb. And so is ait as well. Dextra, scan it. There's a long mark over the A, ablative. Crinem, direct object. Now, we do have a subject change here. Sekat, the subject of sekat and ait, will, of course, be iris. But the subject, though, of rekeset is going to be something else. What looks nominative? Well, we have omnis calor is going to be our subject. Now, de lapsus, I think what we could probably do here is add in the word est and just pretend like it is a main verb. Technically, you could just treat it as a deponent participle, but we can play around with that. Inventos is a prep phrase, and rekeset, the subject of rekeset, if you scan it, the A here is short, is vita, meaning life. So putting it all together, thus she spoke, meaning Iris spoke, and she cuts the hair with her right hand, implied. And at the same time, all warmth, meaning from Dido, all warmth glided away, and her life departed into the winds. It's very sad. Thank you.